Good morning. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, right? And this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. Today we're going to continue our series about things that we learn from dogs. What don't we learn from dogs? Meanness, really. So what I want to talk about today is sharing, also known as altruism. And that is, encompassing many qualities such as compassion, sympathy with others, empathy with others. And the researchers in this area talk about prosocial behavior, meaning that what's good for one is good for the group. And dogs, as pack animals, really understand that. And we see this in packs of wolves. Initially, our study of wolves was scarred by the fact that the wolves were not from the same pack and there was a lot of squabbling between them, and we got this whole dumb idea about alpha dogs and alpha whatever animal that's a predator, and that is not the way their social structure works. To be on the top or the bottom all the time is highly stressful and will result in death. So no animal would have survived who did not have prosocial behavior. And the only animal, in fact, that doesn't exhibit this consistently is chimps. Well, that's another whole story. So with the bonobos, on the other hand, closely related to chimps and almost extinct, very few numbers of them, they are super pro-social behavior. And, oh, no surprise, they are generally a matriarchal society, unlike chimps. So dogs, now that we know, and wolves, need this prosocial behavior in order to survive. So some researchers in Europe, in Vienna, have done several different studies with dogs to see if a dog will give another dog a treat, even if he's not getting one. And in fact, pretty consistently, that's exactly what happens. More so is the case when the dog knows the other dog. Like if you had a two-dog household and they were buddies, the one dog that was the treat doler would decide to give the treat to the other dog. Now, this is a fun thing to do. Like Danny's got a bunch of dogs in her house. I don't know how they get along, but I've done this when I have other dogs here, which is to put out 3 treats on the floor for 3 dogs. And if there's a dog that's a little bit of what we would think is piggy, is he going to grab all 3 treats and hoard them? No, he'll eat his one treat. And then if another dog is sort of like, I don't know, then he'll go get that treat. But rarely will you see dogs that are friends steal a treat from another dog. So if you've got a few dogs, you can try this a few times. Now, trickier thing is if you put out 3 treats for 2 dogs. Then you might see the one who lives in the house or the older one or the bigger one go for the second treat. Or the one who wants it more, or the one that it's closest to. Because dogs expect us, when there's 2 dogs, to give them an equal number of treats. So if there's 3, the dog that misses out on the extra one will sit there like, where's my other one? So notice this with your own dogs. You can do these little mini experiments. And there are many things that, we can't design a perfect experiment. There's always flaws with every experiment. But certainly the fact that dogs will choose to give treats to other dogs is informative about their behavior. And, the fact that they live with us and the ways they live with us and the things that they do to be with us that are so outside their normal comfort zone really shows that they've got a sense of altruism and sharing. Anyone here who has ever been sick knows, what's your dog do? It doesn't go hide under the bed and avoid you. Your dog is concerned. He's pacing. He wants to be near you. He's trying to get close to you. He's licking your hand. Anytime that you've had any kind of emotional or physical stress, who is always there for you? Your dog. Right, Tristan? And I had this one client. She was a big lady, and she had a little, Chihuahua mix service dog, half the size of Tristan. And she had tremendous problems in her low back, all kinds of fusions and surgeries, and she was a youngish woman, so it wasn't great. And she had very minimal amounts of money to work with, but that little dog chose to lay next to the most injured part of her back and heat her there, which she would come to me and say, I need to go home and lay with my dog and I'll be able to walk after this. And I always thought that was so touching. And she was such a big lady and the dog was so little. But that dog, as I've seen with hundreds if not thousands of dogs, knew exactly where to be to help that person. And I think there's not a person who has dogs and pays attention to them at all who hasn't seen a dog exhibit this kind of caring and worry about us, this real connection with us where they want to help and they want to reach out and they want to be part of the group and they share. And I've seen this when we do T-Touch classes. An interesting thing we do with horses, dogs, any animals, but primarily horses and dogs, is when we want them to all do something, we always have a demonstration with another confident dog doing everything first so they can watch, and boy do they watch. And if horses have the opportunity, like often we do these clinics in indoor rings that have temporary stalls down at the end, they're not eating their hay and standing in the corner. They're all looking over the fence watching what we're doing the whole time. Now, as far as I know, the Vienna researchers have not tried to see about giving a treat to another horse with a horse, but they're herd animals, and they certainly are capable of doing that if we could design an experiment where a horse could figure out what we wanted them to do. But dogs clearly want to share treats with other dogs, and we think they're completely motivated by food, but they're also motivated by how they feel about the other dogs and how they feel about you and how they are feeling and what's going on in their body. So one of the biggest lessons we can learn from dogs is this idea of sharing and altruism. And when we first started this lockdown, I saw my neighbors across the street and they were unloading their final trip from Costco, and I had just tucked in here for about a month or more, and we had a across the street chat with each other. And I said, hey, how are you guys doing? And they were like, great, how are you? And I said, great, did you find everything you needed? They said, oh yeah. And I said, well, I have extra toilet paper if you run low. And they said, well, we have extra this and that if you run low. And if you need anything, let us know. If you want us to go to the store. They're like, I don't know, 20 years younger than I am maybe. But that's the kind of neighborliness that we learn from dogs, because that's how dogs are. If your dog is out having a fun time, the dogs around him want to join in. It's hardly ever that you see a grumpy dog sitting on the side and saying, I don't want to participate. They all want to play. And I've seen this so many times at Corgi meetups. Corgis are herders and they're a little bit bossy, and if there is a squabble, 10 Corgis will run over there to kind of break it up. Now, if you don't know Corgis and you don't know dogs, you'll think, oh my God, it's a mass fight. They're all trying to kill each other. But boy, you're wrong, because they are running over there and they'll break up the fight. And it's almost like on the way over, they're formulating a plan. And the one that, when they break up the fight between the two, they'll continue to chase them away from each other, which is fascinating for me to watch, because it's not just enough to get the two to stop the mix-up. It's got to be like, no, you got to run away from that, dogs, because I don't want to see this again. And, Corgis are pretty bossy that way. It's pretty fun to watch. And if you do things like that with an open mind and say, now what could this mean aside from an alpha domination, you'll start to learn a lot more about dogs and yourself. I mean, after all, anything we know about animal behavior, we're looking at through the lenses of humans, and we're pretty blind to a lot of things in the world. So think about dogs and caring and sharing and altruism. All of us have, any parent, that's the whole purpose of your life, is to provide and share with your children, and dogs certainly do that too. Foxes, a mother fox will often eat last after she feeds the kids. And, certainly in wolf packs, we see them taking turns on who gets to eat. And part of that's decided by who needs the most energy, the mama, the one that's doing the primary hunting. And this all feeds into our lives with dogs today. Right, Tristan? Would you go out and cut me some lettuce if I needed some? It's like, he would not. He would give me all the lettuce. There would be no sharing. There would just be, mommy gets it all. And likewise, I would give him all the ducks to eat. We have a good relationship. So anyway, that's one of the other lessons we can learn from dogs, is how to share and how to have empathy, compassion, and altruism for others like us and even outside of our species. And there's many, many episodes of conversations of Corgi about this idea that we learn from animals about how to be better people. So everybody have a good day. It's kind of cloudy here, but we are solidly in a time of year when I don't think I have to wear sweaters anymore. It's going to be 70, 75, 80 this week. And our governor's going to make announcements today about what's happening in terms of opening. I think it's kind of amusing and, for me, happy when I see the country maps and see that Massachusetts and Connecticut are the only two not open, although we're both opening this week. So I don't know that we're really so different. We're only 3 days behind the rest of the world. So we'll see how it goes. Everybody have a good day. Spend time with your dogs. Share things with them, and they'll share things with you. Thanks for joining us.